There we go. We are live. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Leonis Report, episode 52 of the podcast. JB and I here again with some exciting new news updates and a whole bunch to cover. But before we get ahead of ourselves, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just a busy day here after the weekend, but yeah, glad to be kind of chill out here and unwind for the night and talk about pretty big week for the game, I think.
I agree.
How's your weekend?
Honestly, good. These weekends have been pretty low key. I'm going to start ramping up soon. I have just like one thing after another. We have like Greek Easter is technically next Sunday. I'm Greek, so we celebrate a little
Oh,
later, and just like stuff. Like I have a cousin's graduation I'm going to Vermont for. But other than that, honestly, dude, I have been gaming like almost more than I ever have in the last month with the PS5. I've been playing through Rebirth at the moment now, and spectacular.
nice.
Yeah.
I did not get a ton of gaming time this weekend. I was out in the yard kind of getting the some landscaping done and kind of getting the deck ready with all the furniture. It was really nice this weekend here in New England, so
Yeah.
got all the patio furniture out and yeah, so was pretty busy day on Sunday, a little bit tired, but yeah, glad to start enjoying some nice weather.
No, same here. So I'm particularly still like half miffed about the Advent Children thing because I hear I am playing through Rebirth and I'm like, dude, there's so many quality, fun things to do with it. There's so many mini games in that game. I'm like really impressed with the amount of detail they put into it because like it's been like what 3 or 4 years since the first game came out, and this one I kind of figured the plot line in this segment of the story is actually kind of weak, and that's not Rebirth's fault. That's Seven's fault. Like the plot line is basically there's guys in black robes. Let's just like follow them for now, and that's really like it. And it's just like some hijinks that happen along the way, but they really do a good job like exploring the hijinks of like all the little mini games across the different regions. And more than anything, one of the things that I love about this remake, which is why I genuinely think it's better than the original. I know that's bonkers to say, but the world actually like comes alive. Like there's actually like NPCs and there's culture and there's history and there's like people living their lives, and even like the main cast, they really like flesh them out in ways with the script and whatnot that the original game couldn't. So it's like everything's better. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually gotten to it yet. I'm looking forward to diving into it, but yeah, everything I've heard has been pretty positive. I think it's gotten even, I think, better reviews so far than the original remake that came out a few years ago. So yeah, I'm definitely like the mini games. I do remember quite a bit of them, especially in that section of the game, like kind of when the world starts to open up and you're kind of exploring the different towns and things. There was a quite a number of them that like the chocobo racing, and I think there was like even like a snowboarding level
Mm-hmm.
and some other weird stuff that was kind of going on. There was a little bit of that in remake. Like obviously you had like the gym and stuff like that where you could
Right.
lift weights and
They
maybe
still
there
they
there
still
was a
have that. That's here again.
yeah, so there's a few things in there, but it sounds like there's even more in Rebirth.
There is. There's mini games of things that I didn't even think would be mini games. It's pretty interesting. But
Yeah, looking forward to checking it out.
yeah, but in the meantime, we have some pretty big news for this week of a new meta shaker in his own sense. But the topics tonight that we're going to go through are King Mont, who is the new unit released this week. We'll go through him. Our thoughts in the context of Joom and the future of the Advent Children polls, which we will talk briefly about Cloud and Tifa and Kadaj, who we have information on. We're not going to do a deep dive tonight, but we've gotten a lot of questions around people kind of confused on like where should I allocate my resources. There's two vision cards coming out with them too, so like that's part of the consideration. So we will like do some preemptive discussion around it because King Mont is going to suck up a lot of that. But more than that, the big thing we're going to kick off tonight is the tier list that we're going to go through. It's been about 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks almost, since we've done this tier list. We like to update it periodically. We have to be a little more picky this time around because we are seeing such a large driving force forward in the meta that some of these tiers we really have to be pragmatic, if you will. So should be pretty fun shakeup, but I don't think we're gonna make anyone flip any tables. But
I mean, to be honest, there was a lot of characters that we were probably questioning taking them off, even like in the previous metas that were just kind of hanging around. So it's going to be a culling this time, and a lot of units are kind of getting the boot off the tier list. So
Yep.
Should be fun.
Yep, absolutely. But for now, King Mont, I mean, brand new Earth unit added to the game. He's on that Joom tier of like statistical power creep, which we observed in terms of base stats and total stats. And that's not even talking about the kit, obviously, which we will look at a little bit here. I mean, there's a ton to like about him from he has lots of chances to apply silence within his kit, which, as far as UR units go, not something that is super prevalent, but there's a lot of magic scaling tanks where that throws a big wrench into how they do their jobs. Obviously, is another dagger into any kind of magic meta that we're potentially seeing. He's got a lot to do with follow up attacks of his own as well, which we saw that with strike meta, but it is kind of coming back here. There is some survivability mechanics that we're seeing power creep with in terms of a lot of these 4-time physical barriers. We're used to seeing 3-time physical barriers. Same thing for the buff durations, where it's looking like 4 turns of buffs. There's really a bunch here in terms of he gives himself haste. He can dispel follow up casts for other targets, so that's obviously kind of niche. I think Sadali is one of the few among a couple of the others, but the big thing is the unit resistance crush, saving the best for last year. We had the AoE res crush, which obviously has kind of done a meta reset of its own. Things have skewed the other way toward a lot of, unpenetratable unit res. And here he comes as the equalizer. So I've kind of laid a bunch of that out. Anything else stick out to you, or what do you think about King Mont so far coming in?
I mean, I think you kind of summed it up pretty nicely, but yeah, I think it's kind of a culmination of a lot of trends that we've been seeing that kind of cap off with not only June but also Mont here. The buff power creep, having numerous effects built into one buff with the 4 turns, like you said, that's kind of been a more recent development that getting that extended length of buffs. This is the first four hit 50% barrier that we've seen. So that's pretty interesting, especially since he does have the barriers destruction seal.
Seal, right?
So he can kind of he doesn't pass that on to he doesn't quite have the range that A2 does, so I'm not sure it will be quite as effective as hers, but he's got decent range. Like he's got 5 range on that AoE attack. So pretty good chance that he's going to be able to kind of get that off on a couple of units there with the cross. But yeah, the status effect angle, this is that was something that was quite a trend that over the mage meta. He's kind of bringing it back a little bit and kind of using it against those mages there with the silence. He does have that interesting counter ability that has a sleep effect on it as well for a 35% proc.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool too. He hits you and then he puts you to sleep. I think that one's a pretty interesting counter.
Yeah,
But
this is one that I think is going to counter a lot of old units. We've seen a lot of
yeah,
sleep res power creep as of late. A lot of units have gotten these sleep resistance because of Helena, but I think the older units that did not get that love, this is his way of like just completely shutting them down. In addition to everything else.
yeah. So I mean, there's a few things that they've done differently with this unit that we haven't even seen on Joom or even like Final Fantasy VII incoming. If you take a look at like his mastery and Dream Awakening, he gets an additional effect on each of those than we normally see on other units. So he's getting, uh, basically an extra effect on each of those awakenings. So I think that kind of sets him up to be basically the bar for this generation of units, I think.
Yep.
We've seen Gumi do that a few times over the years. You think back a couple of years ago to Flagbearer Glaciella, where she was kind of, at that time, a pretty big step forward in terms of, breadth of her statistics and what she could do in the game. To that point, courage and re-raise removal was still somewhat rare, or maybe you had one or the other. She had both of them. She had the crazy accuracy. I see this unit kind of in a similar way where he's hyper accurate. We thought that June was super accurate, and to be fair, she is compared to like the previous units. But Mont kind of takes that to a new level, and he's going to be like that hyper accurate unit, not only with his statistics, but also with a high accuracy skills as well. So he's really got pretty much everything that you would need. He doesn't have like the re-raise courage removal here, but he does have the follow-up attack on the limit burst, which, that's just as good, if not better, with the, courage and re-raise ceiling in the game. So
Yep.
Excellent, excellent unit.
I completely agree. I'm glad you brought up the accuracy angle too, because he does set the bar for innate accuracy, just pure stat wise. In addition to the extra percent hit chances here, evasion is going to have a very tough time into him. He's got a. We've only covered, I'm going to say, like 60% of them too. There's still more that we haven't talked about. I mean, he's got a heal back for himself as well. His defense pen and slasher's pen is very much very good. I won't say it's the top of the charts, but it can be, obviously, with the right vision card support. He's got, where was it going here? Oh, the debuff weakening. You got reaction block and crit evasion, like excuse me a second, three stats that like everyone really likes to have and likes to see. We also have the physical barrier break, which not every unit gets access to. Very interesting mechanic here with the decrease of debuff weakening before the hit of the healing power here. So this should make for a net effect a stronger healing power down because of it. I mean, it kind of goes on and on. I don't want to say there's not a weakness here, but it's very difficult for me to find like any kind of weaknesses in this kit in the game as it exists right now. I mean, he's got AP restore upon killing enemies, CT restore upon killing enemies. His low AP modifier ability is CT, so when he kills an enemy or not, but these typically get used after you're landing the final blow. He'll get that CT up. We saw with Bradley how devastating CT up to yourself is. Oh no, Eli is the other end of that spectrum, but Bradley is kind of the king, and this is going to be the same idea. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's by design. Like, there's not going to be amazing solutions in the game thus far. The same way when Helena came out, same way when Elia came out, Soul, he's kind of that next part of that picture where he's coming in and there's just, he's his own problem, and they're gonna, in the future put out solutions to kind of make it easier to tackle him. For the time being, we're just trying to slow him down in different ways. I think that one thing that we've talked about is he is kind of reliant for his AP management on that AP restore of 10%. I think that if he doesn't have that AP restore, he can be vulnerable to, his AP pool.
Yep.
So the Veritas TMR, certainly has been brought up by a lot of folks where that disables that. That's going to be one of his first buffs that he uses. He's not going to be able to get that off. And that also is going to, especially if you're running a mage party or any kind of magic party, you definitely want to be using that so you don't get silenced. So. Yeah, I mean that's certainly one way. I think that the penetrations are actually they can be good, but I think it's also can be a weakness. He's very reliant on his buffs that he brings in and also vision cards. So that's kind of one thing when you're thinking about pulling this unit, like, do you have the vision cards to be able to set him up? Like, that's the new Lucio card. That's like the Zazan card for Earth, giving him the slash res penetration. The defense penetration is another one that they're going to try to sell us with Dark Titan here next week. So, there is a number of like slash res penetration debuffs. There's defense pen debuffs as well on several units now. Could be kind of an angle to get to him, especially if you can dispel the buffs that he carries on his attacks.
I would totally agree. I was just gonna say to counterpoint that and support what you're saying. I would agree innately. He's got the 20 slash res pen here. We haven't looked at the weapon yet. There's technically another 20 here, so that will bring him to 40. He has on one of his own abilities, and I like this ability. I like when he gets this upon an offensive ability. Another 30, so you're up to 70. And then you figure like this Lucio card, to your point, is a big one for this Sword Warrior group. This one also has the slash res pen at 28. You're at 98, I think, between all those sources of it. So that it's not without a little bit of help, but I don't think it's that much help. You're talking really just a vision card. But even Earth, that mono Earth team, has loads of slash res pen on those vision cards. You can debuff it, but I think to your point, the defense pen angle too, just bringing visibility to it. The Dark Titan vision card, which is a main slot candidate vision card, is defense pen of 13 to the party and also 10 here. So you're talking about 23 off this vision card. You're talking 40 here. So you're at 63 defense pen. Figure another 10 from a weapon, 73. Does he have any others? I don't.
He's got the buff.
The buff. So you're at 100. So like that's the thing. There's it's not like some of these characters where they just have it all the time. but he's going to be pretty close to having it most of the time. It's higher than
Yeah,
most.
it's just that he's reliant on the vision cards and kind of the external support. Kind of built in innately, like from his base stats, he's got a little bit less than we're normally would like to see. But yeah, it can be like a strength or a weakness, kind of depending on what transpires over the fight and what you have access to.
Yep.
But yeah, the limit burst also absolutely insane with the, another select two. It's got the unit res and peril. It's got self haste on there. It's an XL modifier. So he's basically got like the limit burst enhancement built in. Like this is like um, also got the follow up attack on there with the high potency follow up for 3 turns. So yeah, this is why I think that like AP is probably the best way to get to this guy because this is costing him 49 AP. That's a huge chunk. That's basically your entire bank that you start out with before buffs. So if he can't get the AP restore online, then he's in a little bit of trouble there, I think.
I would completely agree. I like that angle from it. Um, all things considered, top tier unit on Joom's level, if not more so, to be honest. They're different, to be honest, in what they do. She's obviously more of like a sustainer in that she's got more of the damage siphon, which is a big part of her survivability. The debuffs, to your point, like in terms of imperiling the enemy penetrations on some things, not all things, but he's just a kind of like a more raw offensive oriented character. Um,
Very, very brawly though. Like they're both like bruisers. He's got that heal back that you mentioned, and it's a higher potency heal back. It's a 50% rather than like the 40% that we've seen in the past.
yep.
So yeah, it's technically they classify it as a large auto heal. So he's got a huge health pool. So that's I mean that's gonna yeah, if he's got no healing power down, that's gonna be 8 9K, maybe more depending on what healing power you have on him.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's pretty
yeah,
wild. Even the sub jobs, I don't know if I've looked too deep in them. I know we've liked a couple of these in terms of the damage absorb with the modifier. These brawlier units, this ability ends up being pretty decent, but strike resistance is a little bit different nowadays. It's a closer range single target attack, so I don't know if it stands the test of time the same way it did. But the main job is stacked to fuck. You don't really need the sub jobs or anything.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I think you could make a case even for using his main job sub just because he's got this interesting like X style attack that can be useful for when enemies are lined up in those positions, and it does give him that other AOE attack which he is kind of lacking in the main kit. He's very unit heavy, which for him it's okay because he's got the unit res crush, but sometimes it's nice to have some AOEs too.
Yeah, definitely is. And welcome Zeno and Luciano. Appreciate the comments. Yeah, I will piggyback on something Luciano said just now that he has the evade potential. It's technically true. The luck stats there, and certainly the vision card support is there because of his classes and not only the job base but the earth base. That I don't think he's like a real evade unit as we typically know them, but you can absolutely gear him for luck and evade, particularly if you're gearing for accuracy. It's kind of like a byproduct. If you're going luck stones, he's naturally going to get more evasive. That the blind status effect actually might be a big thing in making people miss, where he is a level of like pseudo evasion that this blind would really be devastating to get hit by. That you might have had a hit rate of something like maybe you're 60%, not an atrociously bad hit rate, but that it's gonna absolutely plummet if he gets status afflicted by this. So I do think it's interesting the faith debate potentially where between the shell, between the blind, or not the shell, the silence, between the silence, between the blind. Do you go 97 faith? Do you open yourself up to that magic damage and counter status effects where we do see some more of like the confusion from, or does he have, no, he doesn't. His status resistances aren't like amazing though. It's the stunned, it's the poison, and a little bit the blind. So like between disable and slow and sleep and frostbite, I know Tifa's coming in the frostbite. That 97 faith angle is actually like a legit debate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're rolling the dice at that point. Ailment specifically. I'm not as worried about magic just because he's so strong, like
Right.
with his attacks that like even like the Helenas and VVs, they're have been known for their high unit resistance. He's absolutely demolishing that. Like, Helena famously could get in the 70s, maybe even 80% unit resistance. that's going away with his imperils.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's everything I wanted to cover for him. I'm obviously just emphasizing that he is a big deal. He's, at least in my opinion, a big deal for the foreseeable future. I don't really see much that could counterplay him immediately out of the box. This strikes me as a unit that will take a little bit of game balance over the course of time. I don't see it unless it's like a brand new mechanic like Sephiroth with Curse. I think is some good counterplay. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but some good counterplay to the Ju Moldova A2 team with the amount of healing. I don't know if I can't think of a ton of counterplay at the moment for something like him, other than what they might do with a wind unit, which we don't even know yet. But we will talk about that with the tier list. I think he has some lasting power, which I think is what most people want answered. Is it a unit worth pulling, or should I save for Advent Children? I think the answer is I think he's worth pulling.
I think that's kind of the key point there is the lasting power of this unit. I think that he absolutely has it. If you ask me and put a gun to my head, what's the better play right now? I probably still lean towards Greatsword just because the sum of its parts. But as like an individual part, Mont I think is maybe even stronger than Jum. I mean, um, I think that when you look at what he's able to do, how powerful he is, how he can shut down magic, in a different way than what Jum does, but still equally as effective. I think it's certainly arguable that, he's at least her equal, if not better.
That's a really good way to look at it because it's true. We just talked about some of the vision card support you need. If you don't have that, I might have closed the tab. If you don't have that new Lucio vision card, if you don't have the new Lucio unit, Sword Knight is he not? He's a knight, right? Yeah, Sword Knight is a very bare bones class of characters at the moment. It's like
Yeah.
Squall and Bradley, and that's basically the cliff. There's nothing after that, so it's very tough to think of Sword Knight teams, but he is the kind of carry that's strong enough individually. You can put him really anywhere, and he'll still be a hyper carry in his own right with very minimal vision card support. So I think you brought up the good point though of the great sword with people already building into that. Probably an easier lift to go for Cloud in that regard, and the vision card
Right.
that he brings too. To be fair, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this right now. Screw it. We're transitioning to Advent Children. What a great segue. Thank you, JV. I do like Cloud. I don't love Cloud. I think he's good though, obviously for Greatsword. Honestly, from a light perspective, I think he's a great light slasher unit. Winged Stern is on the way out. Bart's is here by like a skin of his teeth for that very unique mechanic he brings. But light is relatively unimpeded by dark in terms of like balancing act at the moment that I think light has enough iterations of teams too. You do still have a fair amount of light units that are very high quality units that regardless of the greatsword, I think for your average player, this is one of those units that I think the adoption rate is going to be very, very high because of what people have already done historically for it. I think he's worth it. I don't think he's stellar. I don't think he's as good as King Mont, but there's some things about him that I do think are very good that will get some mileage for at least a handful of months here. I'll pause there. Any quick hit thoughts from you on Cloud?
I think, I mean, he's another unit that's, I mean, if you look at him, especially compared to what we've been used to, there's not a ton of weaknesses. I mean, you could kind of pick at his accuracy a bit. Compared to many units we're used to, it's better, but it's not on the same tier as nowhere near Mont or not even as close to Jum either. But he does have like a really, really strong guaranteed hit with a large AoE radius, triple hit, really strong skill. I think he's also a very strong bruiser. He's just kind of lacking his own healing potential to kind of heal itself back. So he is, I think, going to be a bit more reliant on like an A2 doing a rend and mend, or perhaps maybe bringing in like a devout support,
Yep.
in the future. I don't know if I would use a devout support right now, but maybe you could still mix shells in there, and that could be pretty decent. But he's got like a strong angle against magic as well. He's got a barrier, he's got shell, he's got the shell destruction seal as well, so he can protect that.
That's big.
Yeah, he's got the reduced physical damage taken of 25%. So he's got a little bit of tools against everything. A really strong passive ability with the the wide guard there of 25% built in, always on.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like. He is an armor user as well, and there is going to be a new raid equipment that gets 15% wide guard that he can stack onto that.
Good call
Just
out.
have 40% innately. And there are some units that buff that, like Helena, can get another 25% on top of that if you were going to kind of go for that mono light angle. So yeah, I mean, he has the potential to have some really strong defenses in there, really high attack value, pretty good, utility in there as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like him overall. I don't think that, as a silo, as like an individual carry unit, I don't see him as strong as June, you
Yep.
know, but maybe that's just because, he's coming into a playing field where there's just more new gen units, and maybe that will have us start thinking differently about everyone and how they things shake out. But even just kind of comparing the individual skills, I still think June is a little bit better. I do really love his general dispel though. He's got an AoE dispel as well.
I was going to bring that up. It's a different kind of greatsword team where there is some dispel present currently where I know Joom technically has a select two that can do it. Oldoa technically can, I believe somewhere in her kit she's got a general dispel. I can't remember where, but I think that team has some of it. So this is slightly redundant, but it's nice to still have it. I do think this is going to be slightly slept on. This untranslated effect, it's a dispel of the larger the area attack size buff. I think that's big to have on demand, but I think it's also AoE res pen on here too, which underratedly good because there's still very high AoE levels. This is a way to get through both on demand in a way that is more frequent throughout the middle of the fight. I think one of my this is kind of like a crackpot theory of mine. So, but yeah, with Sephiroth coming in with Curse, that just to recap what that is. That's on his limit break here. From what we understand, it's a dispel re-raise. Am I thinking right?
It basically I don't think it dispels it, but it essentially does because you can't use the effect while you're cursed. So
Got it. So you can't use re-raise, and then you can get no healing whatsoever. Correct? Is that what it is? It
I
just
I believe so. Yeah.
if that's the case,
I mean,
oh
we
yeah,
haven't actually seen how it works yet, so
right,
it's hard to answer definitively, but
right.
it sounds like that based on the description.
Right. So if we go off that as the barometer for like this is how they're approaching Sephiroth as an equalizer. I've said this in our Discord where I feel like they missed the boat on having a mechanic of despelling heal back because so many characters have heal backs at the moment. That's a big part of their like effective HP. That I think if Sephiroth comes in here with this curse effect and makes healing virtually useless, then that means that the characters that are naturally the best without healing are going to do relatively better. And so Cloud, who's not reliant at all on any internal healing, it seems like they've given him survivability metrics through like six other different ways. That I do wonder if that's their way of giving Cloud some value. That you look at a unit like June, who's very healing reliant on her heal back, on her healing siphon, on the teammate healing from A2. Like there's a bunch of different things that if Sephiroth comes in and just goes nope, and you all of a sudden have to go with a greatsword unit. He seems like a good one. I know Astrius has regen technically. That Shawl's unit obviously doesn't do a ton of healing, but she grants regen. She's got the single target, heals the TMR. So I know that greatsword team is very reliant on that. I think Gumi's setting it up for that, but we'll obviously see.
I think that Cloud has some other kind of future potential as well because I just know that Gumi's going to be putting out like another magic-based missile unit here shortly. That's probably going to be decimating like a lot of the meta. Like if they build it right, and Cloud with the the huge magic barrier, the shell, and then that counter there that you have highlighted, up to 40% reduction in missile damage, on top of not being weak to missile to begin with, like most of the meta has been over the months. I think that does position him to survive well into that potential unit if it does end up being that. Just something I had been thinking about as well.
Totally. And he does have a nice HP barrier. I mean, I know you kind of pointed that out, but we
Yeah.
like these nowadays. These are good. I Cloud is a strong thumbs up for me. I'm not in love with him, but I see the breadcrumbs of something good here. And the consolation prize is still a great mono light unit at the end of the day. I think that still has a lot of value for the average unit here, or average player.
So, but before we kind of pivot to the next one, I think that my takeaway for like the Cloud versus Mont debate is, and kind of piggybacking on what we were talking about before, going in the Mont direction, it's a completely different build. You know, you can mix him with Greatsword, and they have done that in JP just because they do share a couple of cards like with water and with ice, and maybe a couple of the job cards as well. But I feel like it just works on the power of the abilities and like the power creep of the stats, not because it's necessarily like an incredibly well built team, and the card support just isn't there for it to be like top of the meta for very long. As more of these new age characters come in, that kind of build I think is not going to age well. um
I agree
I
with that.
think though that if you have built up Greatsword, if you got A2, if you got Joom, it's a no-brainer, I think, to and you're also kind of penny pinching on the game. I think it's probably better to maybe go the Cloud direction because you have all the support there. The cards are already tip top. Mont, like you said, you need that Lucio card. You need both of them, to be honest, to have all of his angles. You're probably going to want to look at Dark Titan as well, which is another big lift. I don't think that, a mono Earth team with Mont is going to be competing at the top of the meta. It'll be good, like as a surprise play, and maybe it can have some niche value, but it's not going to be something that people are going to be able to throw out on defense every day and not expect to be countered easily by it. So
I agree with that.
just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I think spot on. And to your point about Cloud with the Vision card, that's I was going to segue briefly with to what this comes out with for that Greatsword team. If you are investing in Greatsword, this is a fantastic Vision card for them. They currently are using the regular old Odin card as their unit res in that party. This is an objectively way better upgrade for that Greatsword team, where not only do you retain the unit res, but you're getting the crit evade, the 60% attack in the main slot, the 15% debuff weakening for Guild War, which is like our primary, 80% of the content that we kind of cater toward. That if you are going that great sword angle to everything you just said, this vision card is a no-brainer down the middle to add into that as a way to elevate your greatsword team. So I think it's kind of like a double whammy there on Cloud and this vision card if you happen to pass on Mon, which I think is justified to all your points.
And this is going to be the first unit res card for Greatsword as
Right,
well.
right.
We've been kind of reliant on the Dark Odin card, because the Greatsword has primarily just been that ice and water mix right now. But this opens the avenue to other things now, which is nice. And it's another card too that Red Mage and Greatsword are sharing now, which is super nice too. The A2 card and now this one lets you build some, if new Red Mage characters come down the line, that's a potential angle you can branch out to with Greatsword.
Yeah. I'll real briefly just a segue. Luciano asked a question. What about Earth Veritas with King Mont? I'll be honest. For me, I don't see that because I don't think Earth Veritas is all that amazing quite yet. He's still kind of unpolished and untested because we don't know how he functions in battle, and there's still parts of his kit incomplete. But I would imagine by the time you get your Earth Veritas built up, that's not going to be something you're thinking about with King Mont. That's just kind of my gut feeling.
Yeah, I mean we're talking like 3 or 4 months from now, and a
Yeah.
lot a lot can change.
Yep.
3 or 4 months ago, Helena was our biggest worry. So
Yep.
um, yeah,
No,
we'll
totally.
see what happens.
And I know we want to get to our tier list, and honestly I don't think we have that much to say about the next two units, comparatively speaking. But Tifa coming in as a new strike unit here, 90 cost. She's got some unique things to herself. Obviously, she is part of that power creep angle in many regards, but she is coming in here as this niche of AP management. To your point about King Mont and how you might attack him, where she on her low AP ability has that decrease AP of 20. She technically has a frostbite effect, a 50% chance to proc on one of these others. She's got another ability here that will increase AP consumption for 3 turns. So that's kind of built into her kit as her niche to really play that AP game with these units. AP really hasn't been an issue for many of the units in the last 3 to 5 months. I feel like the DPS have gotten really self-sufficient with it, but we don't know that in the units coming out in the future. So this could be something that Gumi is normalizing. I will say for me, the briefly in a nutshell for me about Tifa, the couple problems I have is that she's got a lot of good stuff across these three abilities. The problem is it's based upon three different abilities. A lot of her uptime for penetrations and damage is reliant on all of the things in here. And so I don't think you ever get Tifa running at 100%. I think you always just get Tifa running at like 70%, where if people have barriers, well, she's going to use this barrier break, and then you're missing out on the defense pen, and you're missing out on the unit crush and the frostbite, which are two big things here. So, okay, you missed that. But then again, maybe you use this select 2 ability, and all of a sudden you're missing out on like the defense pen uptime. The other penetrations for strike, where was it going here, is based upon her buff, so it is dispellable. Without this buff, her strike pen is kind of near non-existent. This is really a main source of it, and so I just have some problems with like her overall uptime. And then just speaking conceptually about these attributes of frostbite and AP consumption, I can say firsthand I've never seen these turn the fight as of late. And although these characters that I'm playing with aren't nearly her level, I was doing testing with like Zoma and Winter Ravies on the frostbite effects of the greatsword teams, Jum and whatnot. It's not enough of an impact to reduce their AP quick enough before the fight's already not in your favor. And this AP consumption, I've actually used this a fair amount on Grifford. This is one of his sub job abilities, and even then, I never really noticed the impact of it. Um, I'm not saying it can't work for Tifa because stat wise, she's way better than those units. But then again, my Grifford's max reincarnated, like it's almost kind of whatever. But I don't know if these are going to end up yielding the full effects the theory craft might. But I'll pause there. That's really everything I have to say about Tifa.
I I agree. I think that you do need like to really feel the impact. You need both of those things. You need the AP consumption increase, and you need the frostbite to start draining their AP. Or potentially you need another character in the group that can kind of help her out. Maybe start doing some flat AP siphons. Like a Roy TMR or like the Archer's Monocle piece that can give the 10 AP reduction. Maybe even could be like a Dario or a Saul type ability. There's a number of those. The Grimoire Keepers, Jaden, Celebratory Jaden in Ice also has one. Getting those kind of flat AP 20 removals. So you kind of have to build a whole strategy around it. It's not like Tifa is going to be able to come in and do it all of herself, though I think that she could be a pretty valuable piece in a strategy like that. I think you just have to go all in with the entire team concept to truly kind of take benefit from it. But so I think it's like an interesting character. I think it could be a useful character. She's not a carry by any means, but she is going to have the better stats than most of the units in the game right off the get-go. She does have like some nice bruiser tools with like the 50% damage absorption on her buff. I do actually like that strike res penetration because she can give it to her allies. So that's going to be able to amp up the power of maybe some of your older strike units that don't have a lot of that built in innately. So I think there's like some nice things here for a free unit, especially. It's not going to be blowing anybody away. You know, right from the square one. You kind of have to, I think a little bit and build around it to make it like a really useful chess piece.
I agree, and I'm going to echo a point that you made. So credit to you on this. I think you made a statement that she's not the kind of unit that you can run without an aura tank next to her. That her survivability is not the same level as we've seen. Although she has the damage absorption, she's really just relying on the physical barrier here, and that's virtually it for any kind of survivability metrics. And so even like the counter abilities really aren't there to say like mitigate any kind of damage or reflex. There's really nothing else in terms of other like creative abilities to reduce damage or really anything. So that's also another kind of like weakness that sure you do have Aldoa, to be honest, who is a great ice unit, and if you're playing that team, I'm sure Tifa and Aldoa will do excellent together. But that's a pretty big deficiency right now in the new age of the power creep.
And that's like the age of the game we're in right now because we just got Joom, who is an absolutely bonkers unit. We've got A2, who before her was just as good, and now Mont is coming in. So we are in an age where you need to either be able to protect those barriers, especially if they're HP barriers. Those are you'll get a
Right.
bit more mileage out of those. But then you, like you said, you need to have an aura tank if you don't have those other things. So
And
I don't
strike
know. I
and
mean,
strike doesn't until Veritas coming out, which we were just talking about a second ago. Although at the moment, but from a strike only team, it's really Earth Veritas is the only option for a strike oriented team, and Tifa might be a future unit because I know the strike team that we're used to seeing is certainly on the way out. So maybe she's part of a new gen strike team in the future. That's happened before. Old strike
Yeah.
units like Full Metal got phased out, and new strike units came in. No reason why it can't happen again, but little premature.
I mean, there's a couple other interesting things here. I mean, she does have the courage, so if you do have like a courage, protector, that can still be a useful effect, like a Joom, for example. And then she does have that strike res in peril that she can, innately have on her attacks on that same buff. So I don't know. She's got some nice things.
Uh,
That's another good thing to bring up there on the weapon with the
yeah.
decrease AP on crit.
So
And she is like probably the best crit unit we've seen
her
in a
crit
very, very long
her
time.
crit's nasty. Yeah, props to for Meraxis for pointing that out. This isn't amazing, but it's enough that it adds up. Yes, she has got a dexterity node though that most units recently haven't gotten. That gives her like a free 50 dex, and like just jacks up her crit rate. Very cool to see them put that in there.
I think if you have the Roy TMR and use that on Tifa, I think she'll be able to wreck some AP, and that's what I'm gonna plan on doing with her.
Agreed, agreed. But we'll keep going here because we're doing pretty good for time. We're eating away at this, but we won't spend a ton of time on Kadaj because quite honestly, you and I both have the opinion that Kadaj won't really have a good analysis till we know what Sephiroth does, being a fellow Katana user. I know I'll kick it off again. My initial impression, I think he's relatively weak, particularly considering the power creep of the game. He's very, very buff, reliant. One good dispel, and the dude's basically nothing. There's a couple things that I don't like from an attack perspective. That he's hyper accurate and not much else. He's got some of these 30% hit chances, but like this ability, I can't believe in the fourth anniversary of the game we're seeing an offensive ability that has nothing on it except for a 30%. Like this seems like a very underwhelming ability compared to other units. The defense crush here is fine, but like Fang has not wowed us with her defense crush. I know this one's slightly different in that it's a select two, and hers is just completely different. But there's a lot of holes in his kit that I don't think age well with the fourth anniversary power creep at this moment. We need to wait to see more.
Yeah, so my take is that I think I kind of see what they were going with there. Like, there's less utility on the individual attacks because they kind of put everything in this one buff.
Right.
This has like even more effects than Joom or Mont have on there. This is like six different effects.
Yep.
And the thing that you see here is that it adds actually, I think, three different debuffs innately onto his attacks. Like it imbues his attacks with those.
Yep.
So it gets like the critical rate reduction. It gets the dispel auto restore. So that all gets built in as like added utility to those other attacks. Whether that actually is good or all that powerful in practice, I couldn't really say until, like you said, we see what Sephiroth does, because I'm sure they're going to be built to go together, and this is kind of a next step forward for the Katana group. I mean, it's going to be a big, I think, for Dario the Crystalborn as well, because that was a unit that I think a lot of people were excited about, and to be honest, has kind of been a dud because he literally came in and the magic meta was on its way out, so there hasn't been a great use for him, in my opinion, at least in the top of the game. So if Sephiroth is going to come in with like the re-raise protection and like barrier seal or dispel seal, maybe Kadaj and Dario look a lot better than they do right now.
Right.
So I think we'll just have to kind of revisit him once we know more.
Yep. But yeah, we'll pause that for now because there's still more. The vision card too. We've seen how good these vision cards are so far. We actually did not even look at the Tifa one. Just for we will very briefly. This is another bonkers vision card. 42% luck, a little bit lower in the agility, 12%, but that's only like what, one or two agility points I think in total.
That great sword can afford to give up one or two agility.
Right?
Their
Yeah.
agility is already like 125 plus.
Exactly. And the 15 accuracy for Guild War. So another Guild War effect. This is a strikingly good vision card. I don't want to underestimate the 20 strike rest pen here too, where I kind of poo-pooed it earlier. This is a major benefit for her too in that regard. But yeah, until we see the vision card for Kadaj, I think there's still some remaining to be seen. We were going to go over the new Guild War map because we got Guild Wars. We'll pause on that. We're already 10 o'clock here. We want to move things along for you guys. The tier lists historically take a little while to go through, and so let's kick things off with where we were back in March. And so, flashback to that time, March was where I think we were starting to see the petering out of the Magic meta. Strike meta was in full effect at that time. There was kind of like a changing of the guard at some of this where, um, you basically had two teams. You basically had your strike team and you had your A2 team. It was a greatsword team with Astrius. It was really between the two of those. There were a couple others um, here and there, but ton of changes since then. Um,
Yep.
Let me also just take another quick 30 seconds to recap this for them. We said this at the beginning, but those joining late, we are absolutely doing a bit of a culling here on our tier list where there's certain units that now are so far below the S tier in terms of the discrepancy of power level that you might as well all be in the D tier together, even if the characters in the D tier might be better or worse than each other. Relatively speaking, we balance around the S, A, and B tiers, if you know what I mean. So we've had to just take off a lot of units because they are in that niche tier. They don't really deserve a seat at the table from a theory crafting perspective. And so that tonight is one of the themes as we overhaul this. And I will go to our preliminary. Let me just expand.
Everybody shifted down.
Yeah. Oops. What did I do here? Sorry, guys. 1 second. What did I do here? Why? What is this big white space on my right?
I don't know. Maybe reload the page.
Uh, I think I might have to. Sorry, guys. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we have 6 new units that have come in or about to come in that we have not added, so we will add them in. We will revisit some of the units that got upgrades, like Zazan and Knight of Ruin Stern. But for the most part, a couple of these units, I think you said you already dropped off a bunch. Did I remember you saying that or no?
I mean, the old D tier that from last time is already completely gone.
Ah, here it is. Yeah, yeah. So
All
all
of these units are gone.
all these units that are in the current D tier, boom, goodbye, see you later. Sorry, guys. Not worth it.
They were barely hanging on anyway. But I think before we go into the S tier and define the new units, let's just call this D tier and just knock them out, and then we can go ahead and regrade everyone after that.
I like it. I like it.
Personally, yeah, Roy is gone, 2B gone, more. All these units, I think,
I agree.
gone.
It's not that they're necessarily bad. I'm sure you'll use them once in a while, but the discrepancy between the bar is certainly not there anymore. Um, Miranda certainly her time. Arena never even saw the daylight. Old Lucio, nope. Lemuray with all the haste to spell and the haste TMRs lost some of her luster. Resnick the Hoppy,
We liked the upgrade. I
yeah,
don't know. Maybe you could get her in there to D, but I don't think it's compelling enough that it's a convincing case for me.
uh,
Sorrow, I mean, he needs his dream upgrades, I
he
think.
he does, but
You want to keep him? Okay.
for the moment because we're gonna talk about Yuffie. I feel like he's kind of in that conversation.
There's a number of characters too that I think probably should move down, but I'm only keeping them because of the cost consideration. So that's like HLL, Mashari, Gernsback, all these 70 cost units. Even like Engelbert is another 70 cost. Uh, Luell, I probably would think about moving down too, but she got a pretty nice LB upgrade. Maybe it's like good enough, niche value to kind of take out once in a while. Snow just got the LB upgrade.
I like it. So
I
do
don't know.
do we want to cull some of the or move some of the tiers down, or do we want to start with the balancing first of
Yeah, let's
this?
define the S tier, I
Yeah.
think, next, and then work our way down.
So let's. I'll skip out of order here of what the icons are. We'll go with Joom first, who I know for a fact we're putting in S tier. To no one's surprise, this unit has rocked everyone's socks for the past 4 months in every single game mode possibly imaginable.
I mean,
Um,
she was just the bonus unit for like 3 weeks straight in arena, so I'm sure everybody has gotten their share of June.
Absolutely.
Absolute new tier of power creep for the game. she's at the top of it for now.
Agreed. And I'm going to put King Mont right next to her. He is also equally worthy of that S tier at the moment in terms of
Yep.
driving the meta forward. I would, again, for the sake of time, because we're going to still have to go through a lot of this here, I would like to put Uldoa in the S tier personally. Because Uldoa, A, enables this greatsword team that we're seeing and will for quite some time. B, she does kind of single handedly shut down all the strike meta, which is not a far drop off from underneath here. Like, I think if you didn't have Uldoa, Strike would still be very viable in this June matchup because Lightning does do some, like, Strike does okay things versus them sometimes. That I think Uldoa is kind of like the linchpin to some of that at the moment. Um, yeah, I'd be okay with that.
I feel like it's going to be really tough for her to face off against Mont. That's the only reason I hesitate. Not only because of like the silence, but the unit crush, the the debuff weakening like angle that he has with the healing power down really is going to impact her healing sustain. I agree though. I mean, Mont can sit right beside her and kind of work into that Earth Ice angle. So I think that she's going to be part of the S mix. I think that she's still going to be played at the top of the game, but I'm a little bit worried about her survivability here with some of these new units coming in. I think for now though, S is fine.
I would, yeah, and yeah, we're trying to like balance this too. This obviously doesn't necessarily have like Final Fantasy VII considerations in here yet. So there's it's obviously going to change in the next couple of weeks, but at least for now, as a snapshot,
I would throw Summer Glaciella right next to her too as the other kind of primo physical or a tank.
I would agree.
I think that personally, I think that Summer Glaciella is going to be better into this upcoming meta than Oldoa because she doesn't have to worry about the silence angle. She's got like the defense pen debuffs. She's
Yep.
got the stop strike that she can throw in there as well that a lot of people aren't gearing for. And you know, for the cheeky evasion plays, she's got the accuracy covered for you as well. So
Yes.
I think that Summer Glaciella is going to be really good here in the coming weeks.
I completely agree with that. I know there might be other units in consideration of S, but at first glance, I think that's my gut check at the moment of who belongs there for what we're anticipating in the future. I think in the meantime, do we want to move some of these units down so that we can fit the rest of these units in, relatively speaking? Um,
Yeah.
I don't. I'll be honest. I don't disagree with anything here in the C tier. I don't think we're bumping both these Earth units of Oberon and Queen Mashri down. They're okay, but certainly downward trend. Dark Fina, I have hardly seen used ever at all, and almost never with success. If I've seen her, it's been bad. Summer Helena, not enough of a compelling case for her to do anything. Joom has been just plummeting off a cliff for months. We've had not a single good thing or copium to say about her in all that time. Dagger is certainly on the way down, where she has this niche specialty that no longer is needed. That magic meta is over, and even then, during that magic meta, wasn't um, iron.
Wasn't
Yeah,
overpowering.
it wasn't
Yeah.
ironclad. Fryavi, kind of the same idea. Her window of time is evaporated for where she had a niche. Ibarra, not enough tools to compete nowadays. The buffs are very, I don't know, lackluster. Not enough to say there for her. And Asterisk, the water unit, hasn't seen the light of day in quite some time too. Not a solid unit. Um, I want to hold on Sweet Elvira actually for just a moment. I want to come back to her. Jaden will come back on. I agree on Light Jaden. You and I have both had like copium that you could put him in and it could be interesting, but it's never actually happened. So we got to be
Yeah.
realistic about this. And Lila the Bold, kind of the same as Dark Fina. It's been forever. I've not seen anything. Shadowlinks on Ice absolutely has not done anything whatsoever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's also another. So I'm pretty comfortable with this D tier. I'm also comfortable leaving Varush here. I think his limit break upgrade gives him a little bit of a nudge edge, particularly with Mont coming in. I don't think he's going to be good versus Mont. I'll
I
stop
think
there.
Varush needs a barrier protection before I think he can be like a great play against Mons. Like, assuming you are covering silence, and maybe Sephiroth is going to provide him that. He did get the amazing LB upgrade, so we're kind of that's why I kind of tagged him as maybe somebody to talk about. But I agree. Right now, like day one when Mont comes out, probably not. excellent because he's going to get his barrier broken and then die very quickly.
Yep.
So
Yep. And then for our C tier, I'm overall comfortable with who we have remaining before we bump more down. So actually, let's do that right now so that we can look at CT comprehensively. Grifford, I agree. Grifford is completely underwhelmed. I'm going to override you here. I'm going to put Grifford in D tier. I everyone knows me. I'm the biggest Grifford fan for a long time. I have him max reincarnated. Everything about his kit right now, almost everything from a utility perspective, is bad. The game is completely balanced in making it absolutely useless in many regards. There's not a place where I think Griffith's ever the call, and I have him max reincarnated. Like that should hopefully say something to everybody. Um,
I think he can fit in that discussion for like low cost formats there with some of those other 70 costs. I
okay,
think that
okay.
that's where his value is right now, I think.
Fuck. All right. Okay. So we'll leave him there with the Lucia. All right. All right. All right. But you guys heard it. Don't get your hopes up with him. Um,
Yeah.
Ed Elwick, I agree. Down. I haven't seen him in ages. Hyo
Seen a lot of people trying to use Hio and just gets dominated by June
dominated.
way too hard.
It's awful. Sadali is unfortunately just too fragile at the moment. Still quality unit, utility and offensively, but just too fragile. We'll come back to Yuffie. Let's come back to Jaden. Not sure if I want to bump Mont down. Uh,
Yeah. It's it's tough. Like he can hold up better against June than you would expect, but I mean, she's got the berserk resistance. Like it's, I don't know. I think it might be time for him to go to C.
I would agree with that. I'm thinking maybe too far ahead with Sephiroth coming in as fire. I think I'm getting ahead of myself there. Um, Addison Ray, I'm not ready to bump Addison down because Light is still potentially sound as a group. I think she's still a viable member of that Mono Light team. Um, it's not amazing, but I don't think she's in this tier of units. She looks out of place there, portrait
I
wise,
agree. I
for
mean,
me.
she still has the unique capability of the guaranteed hit and all with the courage and the heal back. I feel like that buff alone, you know, even if you don't consider the LB, which is still very good, she just is like dying very easily right now to the greatsword team. That's kind of why I tagged her. But yeah, I don't feel strongly about moving her down.
And someone brought up
Lu
Oh, good.
I do want to give props to Nucio, which I think we underrated last time, big time.
Yep.
He absolutely deserved to be part of that S tier last time. Um, he's not going to be S tier going forward, but I think he's a solid A. He's like a solid sidekick for the new mods, in my opinion.
Can I controversial? Can I bump Sephiroth down to C? S- S-
I wouldn't argue it.
Guys, Sephiroth is very bad at the moment. I actually recorded a video just this last week. I had a commenter leave a suggestion for me. Will, could you look at former meta units, describe why we're the meta, do a little historical thing, and talk about how they fare in the current state of the game? And Sephiroth just gets Fs for everything. Everything is bad. There's no imperils. Like his survivability is very one note. The utility that he once brought is basically gone. I've used him in mono katana teams like when Dario came out, when Oberyn came out, and just absolutely the weakest link consistently. Sephiroth is gone and ready to be reborn with this new version. Um, but yeah, I think he's down.
I think we could send Amnelis down too. I agree with the chat.
Where's
Saul,
Amneris?
she's right next to Saul there and B.
Yes, good
She got
upgrades.
she got good upgrade. Yeah, like the LB upgrade is nice, but yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be trying to roll out magic right now.
No, this feels weird, but I would agree. Soul going down, it doesn't feel right, but it's true. His anti-strike niche is also gone with the amount of strike pen in the game. Also, the fact that he struggles against A2 as much as he does is a major F. That there's no way.
My
Yeah, you can
my
struggle that
my
bad.
soul my soul is max reincarnated
Mine
and
too.
struggle bus against A2. The he absolutely needs like another 20 to 30% Majora's pen and then he can bump up again because he'll be able to do much better. But
Yep.
for now, he's in trouble.
I also want to bump Summer Jaden down. This is a unit we've kept up for theorycraft reasons, but but
No survivability.
no survivability, but perfectly primed to counter Earth Slash. That's his niche. They gave him all these upgrades for it. It's a niche, but I don't think for top end play it's going to come to fruition. But in your casual average ladders, sure, I think he's a good play. But I think it's been too much of a theory craft and not enough results for him as of late.
I think he's really going to be struggling even harder with his accuracy against these new gen units as well.
He's got the guaranteed hit though. That's the dispel.
He's got the guaranteed hit, but I mean, that's a single target attack. And, if there's any sort of tank there for Mont, like an Oldoa or somebody else, he's going to be missing on all his AoEs.
I would agree. And
So,
yeah, I've left a couple of these still tagged because we still need to talk through them a little bit. But I figure move the definites and then we can kind of circle back to put the pieces together. I'll keep going to A here and we'll circle back on some of these if you don't
okay.
mind. Perrine, I would agree, is kind of the odd girl left out in the water teams. In the strike teams, she was there a little bit with 2P and Alaya, but not the carry. The Catone team was superior. Perrine is still an outstanding unit, to be honest. This is no dirt thrown on her, but definitely not the power level that she once was.
Yeah.
Rap,
Rap is down.
absolutely
Yeah.
down. Really doesn't bring much value. It's just a punching bag. She's the new warrior of light. Uh, in many regards.
Still hard to kill, but that doesn't bring enough else to the table at the moment. We'll have to see what they do with her upgrades. Dialdo got a pretty good one. She could get a good one here in a couple months.
I agree. Shawls, ironically, who is a strong member of the Greatsword team, a lot of her buffs aren't stellar. The Protect is easily dispelled now. The Courage is easily dispelled now. Really not a strong healer in any sense. The damage up does get dispelled also by the amount of stuff we're seeing. So a lot of her stuff has counterplay at the moment. She's still good. That's why she's in B,
Wh-
but not over.
When
Yeah,
she Yeah, when she was at her height, there was really no general dispel in the meta at all. Lucio kind of came in and had that imbue for the general dispel. Uh, we just talked about Cloud has that coming in shortly, and also Joom has it on a select too. So there's been more and more general dispel coming back into the meta, and she just can't bring enough. Her healing is not good enough to keep her around if her buffs get dispelled.
I would agree. Vivi's on the way down, and I think this is the start of a cliff for him. I think he's going to plummet in the next couple months. I think it'd be premature to put him in C, but he's not far off.
Yeah, his stun is still really good. He still does a ton of damage, but he can't survive like he was before.
Yeah. So I will circle back just right now because we do want to still spend some time critically thinking about SNA. Uh, Lightning from 13, I think is good at C. I've seen her a lot in Arena. Maybe not as much as Guild Wars, but she's doing work against Joom in particular. Like that missile angle there. The follow-up attack is still nice. It's not amazing, but I think it's worthy to see considering the other units that are in that category.
I was going to say that she's at least a C,
Okay, yeah.
potentially even a B because I've seen her be one of the better counters against Joom, like even better than Alaya, just because she has the missile damage in some scenarios that you can really abuse. So I don't. It's tough. I'd put her maybe on the line, like she's approaching B for me. I think that she's that good at least for now.
I would agree. My one caveat is no, I'll go B. Joom is that good. This is present moment. I think this is she's as
As a counter pick, I think she gets bonus points.
and I do see a lot of people bringing Sylvie up here in the chat, and rightfully so. I actually do think Sylvie should drop a tier two. I have not seen Sylvie be competitive in really any of these teams. There's there's been a couple
Yeah.
times, but there's so much like fine tuning, and even then, this was like a couple months ago. Older maps, older meta. I don't think what she has at the moment really scales well with where the game's going.
Yeah, I agree. We'll have to see what Gumi eventually gives her for an LB upgrade. Maybe that could change, but yeah, I think C is good.
I'd also like to you put Yuffie in C. I do think that's a good bump down. It's just one of those things that not only is Joom such a good counter to her, but King Mont and this accuracy creep, Kadaj included, and who knows what else in the future, and all these tanks getting guaranteed hit. There's not a spot for evasion at the moment. Um, it's a timing thing, but it is also a unit thing. I don't know if I want to drop Ildira and Sorrow down too, because like I think they're like kind of like a package group, if you know what I mean. Um, but
For
they're
me, like if you're comparing the three of them together, like Yuffie is definitely like a couple rungs above even Aldira, but the problem is that like the ninja group has gotten absolutely nothing since she came into the game. Like they got like one or two cards, and they're not really great ones for the team, and no new units either. So that I think is the problem. They just haven't gotten any new tech to kind of to combat these new units that just are much bruiserier than she can handle.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I think Summer in the Celebratory actually has gotten better as of late. Not
Up,
amazing, but up. Is it worth the B or is that too
I think
much?
he's B.
I think he's
I think he's
yeah.
B.
This meta again, just to recap for people, his AoE healing power down, his own barrier that he has is one of the stronger barriers that you can put on. Being an ice unit, he does go well next to Uldo, so he does gain that physical aura. He does technically have like the dispel hate mechanic, which doesn't get used often, but like often enough that like it can work with some of these tanks to kind of like help chip down A2 or Jum a little bit better. He has the slash res pound down. I think he has slash res pound down. He's got something else. I could be misremembering.
He does have the slash wrist pen down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Slash respect. So he actually fits really well into the timing of things at the moment. So I do think he's up for the first time in a while.
I think like with the ice meta, the only thing that's like holding me or having me even hesitate to push him into like A is like a really good pick is he's just so bad against magic that like even like the enemy Oldoa chunks him heavily that it's pretty tough to kind of use him as like an everyday kind of play, but he absolutely can be used right now and perform pretty well. He's got like the AP siphoning angle as well that you can utilize that we talked about earlier.
Yep,
Um, I'm gonna push to have Winter Wrath push down to C and Ranan. I agree with the folks in the chat. We moved down the other devouts. They absolutely need to go as well.
I agree.
I'm gonna hesitate on Veritas of the Waters just because we know about her weapon incoming, and I think that that's a pretty nice upgrade for her. And
Can, can I rebut that? That weapon,
sure,
if you've been grinding hard, you're not getting that weapon for like a month at least. And so if this is like a current day snapshot, if she's not usable without the weapon, and that's like if you're grinding your ass off top 10 in arena to get that weapon, most people can't, not top 10, then
uh,
that
m-
drops her.
my water copium.
I know. I think it's a timing thing. I think she's fine here. I don't think she's a bad unit. She can come back up, but
Yeah, this is not the meta for her
right,
for sure.
if we're talking about the timing of it, I slightly want to maybe edge Kefka down too. Am I too aggressive in that? I feel like he's very
I
AOE
think
centric.
so.
Okay, I'll leave him there because I don't know enough.
Squall, I want to push up.
I'll agree with you there.
He's been excellent against June,
Excellent.
especially if if you've invested into him. He's like a brick wall as
Got
like a counter pick.
guys, if you guys are fans of Orange A, I tagged him in his channel. I don't know how he's not blowing up YouTube algorithms with Squall beating the Jew meta right now. Like he's got a max reincarnated Squall that should dance on that team. He's this. I've done a couple mono lightning teams. It's not always a clean win, but Squall is the best part of that team when it does happen. He's definitely in that B tier at the moment.
He's got like the Jaden problem too, where like the magic just decimates him. So like the Oldoa, same thing. Like he just gets chunked by it. So he needs a healer with him, but if you can cover that, I think it's solid.
I'm glad. Zeno, what did I convince you on? Oh, Wedding Jaden. Yes. Yeah. We were doing testing with Wedding Jaden. He was very solid.
Yep.
Veritas of the Wind, I'm cool keeping here. I still think he's a very solid unit. Earth is about to make him a lot better. Um,
That's why I tagged him. I thought potentially can push into the A tier as like a good Mont counter pick. But
I don't hate it, to be honest. I think he's that good.
yeah,
Again, you have to
yeah,
consider he's max reincarnated, so his stats are overinflated to your average unit as well, to what most people might have available to them.
yeah.
The rest of these B units, I'm pretty comfortable leaving here. I think Oberyn is still a B tier unit. He's going to get better with Sephiroth, quite honestly. I think he's going to be excellent with Sephiroth, just as an early prediction. Um, I I would maybe consider bumping, believe it or not, Zidane and Dialdo down a tech, but no, I'm not sold on it. Zidane for me is too niche to be a B. I think I can use most of these units in general situations, but I've seen some Zidane where I'm like, dude, how are you getting like two shot by this? Like this is crazy. The damage isn't really there. He's got like bait issues sometimes. There's no good dagger teams. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah. I mean,
happily keep him here, but it's I think it's worth pointing out. It's more borderline than not. And
Diallo absolutely, absolutely. Like I would consider pushing him into C at this point.
yeah,
Like maybe he gets a rising tide with Mont coming in. Like if you have no other Earth options, but I don't know if it's all that great because he has no aura. He's got. I think he's going to be getting an LB upgrade that we should be seeing relatively soon. So
yes,
maybe we could potentially give him some bonus points for that, but that's still not coming for a couple weeks.
yep. Nobody gets beat by a lot. I think our A tier is pretty. I'm still okay with Helena here. She's still a unit that if you're not gearing for it, she will beat you. We've all gotten pretty comfortable with this June meta, so we've kind of like taken our foot off the gas in some of what we do for anti Helena. But quality of unit wise, absolutely still an A. From the fact that she'll almost beat any other magic unit in a mirror matchup because they reflect. I feel like that alone is what keeps her a tier ahead of all these other magic units. Is that like head to head consideration?
I agree with that. I'm gonna say A2 should be S still.
I agree with that.
I think that's I think she hangs right with June. Like if you've invested into A2, like they're like, peanut butter and jelly. Like they're so good together. Um Commenting on like, we've had Brad in like S tier for so long. At this point I would consider pushing him down to B, but I
I'm
think it's like
oh,
do you think I think he like hangs on potentially because of Mont.
it's a good question. I'm gonna I'm gonna say no. Do you know why? Bradley is too AoE heavy that he doesn't get the benefit of the unit crush that Mont brings, and Mont has a barrier break. So Bradley's niche of that AoE barrier break not really there. He dies too easy right now. Um,
He definitely does, especially to the greatsword team with like Rend and Mend can one shot him in a lot of cases.
yeah, still a great unit, but he's now on par with these other slashing units. He's no longer that definitive head because they do other things differently.
I do think Halloween Lucio does get a bigger bump,
Yes.
um, because like to your point, more of his attacks are unit based.
Yep.
He has the dispel, which kind of goes well with Mont's.
Yep.
He because Mont doesn't have one. Mont gives him the barrier break that he needs. And they both can kind of play that evasion a little bit better than I think Bradley can.
I agree. I agree. It feels weird to keep strike units in A, but I think that's still fine. You know, if you didn't have Joom or Greatsword, they'd be running the show still. You know what I mean? If these units didn't exist, they would be S tier. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 2P and Elia are still great. Does Glassy deserve to still be there?
Um, no, but Mont is what's keeping her there for me. It's that Rising Tides art. Glass is still a very solid unit, and she's been good with the Veritas Dario team. But Mono Wind is not that popular. If it was that popular, you'd see it everywhere. But it's
I
solid.
mean, I see a lot of people playing in an arena, but it's like an instant click for the greatsword team to
Yeah,
to like get the free points. It would be a great team if A2 weren't in the game, for sure.
Moderate Apathetic wants us to move down Wing Stern. Do you think that's? I don't think so. I think his limit break upgrade and then his MA2 as of late, and just the fact that his class I still think is pretty decent. We saw some good mono light teams with him and Bartz and New Lucio, and his accuracy is there too that he can still like hit some of these newer units. He's got AI problems, but I don't think he's in the slasher category. Like if I'm looking at my slashers in the C tier, from like Sephiroth and Hio, I think Stern's above both of them.
Stern is going to be a rising tide for me with Mont because he is one of the best knights into this point.
Yep.
Um, so his LB upgrade is not in the game for us. JP just got that, but it is an excellent upgrade for him. So I think I'm okay giving him some like kudos for that, like as like a future potential that will be coming in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, if those things didn't exist, I would be considering them into C for sure.
I'm pretty comfortable with everything else so far. Do you think we're at a point where we should add in these other units here now?
Yeah, I think we're like pretty solid right now. So yeah, let's finish it off here.
Yeah. Fang is. Uh, uh, B.
I'd start her off as a B with potential to go lower.
I would agree with that. That's exactly my thought.
There's some stuff to like there, and like the Pierce team is good, and it's good against a lot of things, but I think that it's not good against like the mages, for example, and it's not good against Greatsword. So like Pierce at this point, like even though they've gotten so much, I feel like they still need something else, and like she wasn't enough to kind of bring them to the promised land, unfortunately.
No, and if you consider Monk coming in here, that obviously directly flies in her value as a lightning unit. I've used her a lot. I have her at like 40 or 50 reincarnations, and it's okay. It's not amazing. I'm making teams with like uh, Volk, Fang, and I did a 9S team, and it's still lost to water. I'm like, how you have the two lightning units and 9S is anti-physical, still loses. I She's quickly on the way to C tier for me because of meta shifts, but I think for now B is comfortable.
Yeah, I think she's better than the majority of the units we have in C.
Right, I would take her over Sephiroth 8 out of the 7 days of the week. Like not even a question. Um, Volk, it's a tough one. I
Uh,
I think B.
I think B.
He's definitely not a C because he's definitely like a pretty serviceable aura tank in his own right. But he doesn't really beat anything in the S tier, which is kind of weird. Like I don't think he beats anything in the S tier, and even the A tier, it's close. Like he does well against Strike, relatively speaking, and
He can
yeah,
do like some decent damage, and like he holds up better against water than you would expect.
he does.
Like he's got a lot of like the wide guard effect going on. He'll get a little bit even better than that with the new raid armor coming in because he's an armor user as well.
Yep.
I like him. Like I think he's just coming into like a it's bad timing for the unit. Sephiroth can maybe change things for him potentially. Maybe they'll have some good synergy.
I'm very hopeful with that, to be honest.
But for now, I think B is probably the proper place.
Yeah, no, I mean, not only does Fire have good overlap, but Spear and Katana has a couple that like aren't the worst off the top of my head if I'm thinking back.
Yeah.
The Earth Veritas, I'm gonna go C personally.
Ooh.
I,
I think that he's like a B tier kit personally. Like double aura, like that's pretty nice flexibility.
it is.
Especially whereas he has got like the healing angle as well.
It's a
By the time
25%
we actually
chance.
could
Yeah.
use him though, like 3 months from now, like the whole meta could have shifted. The Yeah, it's tough.
I'm I'm not amazed. Like he strikes me as like a punching bag, and I don't know if that works well. I haven't seen a ton of like utility for what we look for in tanks, but the aura is utility. I'm sorry, let me take that back. Um,
From what I understood in JP, he'll use the chakra like mid battle, like even if there's enemies in range. Like if people need to be healed, he'll use it.
oh,
So
okay,
he's got like the Sol AI. So that I think makes him really strong,
okay,
especially where he kind of gives you the double layer of protection. Um, I think B is like the floor for him right now for me.
okay. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah, because he's definitely better than Rain. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
better than Alphonse for
Alphonse, yeah,
sure.
I agree. Okay, yeah. B tier. Which ironically, I have seen some Alphonses still pop up more so than late. I don't know why, but like I've seen
Probably
them.
because of June.
Yeah, yeah. So then URs is on and Wing Stern. Do they make the D tier cut? I don't think they're C units, quite honestly.
No.
But I think they're.
I've heard some positive feedback on Zazan, but it's mostly been from like the manual side. What have folks in the chat? Have any of you guys been using him in arena, and how has it been performing? I feel like A2 still slaps him around so easily. Like that's a one shot, like rend and mend. So
I would be hard pressed to. And Stern, I don't see. There's just.
the LB upgrade was cool, but I don't at 100 cost, like he doesn't have the cost angle going for him that some of these other D units have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him in there.
The only way I would put Zazan in the D tier is if we killed Katone to take her out and put him instead. I don't think you could put both of them there.
Yeah.
Although
Zazan is probably better than Kitone, right? Should we make that trade?
she's kind of like a Drain Force one trick, but she's got some stuff. I just literally never see her. Although I never see him either, so same idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm unconvinced. I guess I'll we'll we'll just it can't hurt. And
We'll
and
throw him in there.
and Stern,
He's done.
I'm just gonna go no. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Zazan's hanging in there because he just doesn't die. How appropriate.
All
But
right. So final looks here. Final sweeps.
guys in the chat, what do you think? Anyone stick out still that you think should be higher or lower? Mm, I'm pretty okay with things.
Is Ildira still worthy of D tier? I feel like sure her heals are still good. Like the limit burst is still good, but I don't know if she's bringing much else than that.
No, she's on the way out. I would be ready to delete her if we wanted to. I wouldn't have a strong argument for that.
I think I'd be okay taking her out and putting Zaza on there.
Yeah, let's do that. Um, I think this is pretty good to be honest.
So like my barometer is like S's are like your team captains, A's are like your next in line, B and C are like your niche units, and or C is your niche units. B is like,
Like a role player for me. Like they have a role
role
to play.
player.
Yeah,
And then D's are like maybe you throw them in as like an arena counter pick kind of thing, or if you don't have one of the other units, maybe they can be like the next man up. But I feel like that this is holding up pretty well to that ideology.
I think so too. I think we nailed it. Appreciate everyone's help keeping us on the tracks. I know we typically do this offline, just the two of us, so we don't get a lot of. It's an echo chamber sometimes. But
Instant feedback.
yeah, yeah. But no, everyone take a snapshot. This is the tier list. Pass it around. I think
I like that we've made this calling because this is a lot cleaner for like the true S units, like the true game breakers. And we have a lot more separate, like there's not as many now in the S and A tier as we used to have. And I think like as we start going forward with like Final Fantasy 7 and all these new age units come in, even more of these D tier and all these old units are going to start falling off as well. So
absolutely.
until there's
Half
like
these units you
some,
could just say that right now. Dark Fina,
yeah,
like half these units you could be like tomorrow, goodbye. Yeah.
that's like the state of the game right now until they introduce some way for these old units to keep up. You can remember back to like the second year of the game where they did the job updates. They kind of gave some more interesting MA2s. That's kind of the state that these old units are in right now, that they need that kind of big, heavy hand, I think, to really give them any sort of chance in the future.
I would agree. I would agree. But that's it for now. This is obviously a little bit longer than normal, but live streams always have that opportunity, and that's kind of the fun of it too. But I think we went over everything that we wanted to. We covered our tier list. We covered our new news releases. Someone real quickly brought up a thing. How is Velas above Renoa? They should be on the same tier. Renoa, to me, has some AI problems, and the haste a spell that's as prevalent as it is. Although people like to think of Velas for his haste, I like to think of him still as for his AoE cures and the AP regeneration he gives to the team, where he just gives you like a flat, what is it, 15 to 20 AP. He's got a little bit of different angle of survivability too than she does, but I think he's a
He's
smarter AI.
he's he's a better damage dealer than Renoa also.
Yeah, she's very reliant on her limit break for the spirit pen for that, and her select two is doesn't do a ton of damage. She's not accurate enough to use her earth imperil either. That's got the stun on it. I never see that used. Unfortunately, it's a good ability, but yeah, Velas is, and obviously Ice is like still doing relatively well. I think he's overall more solid.
They're not that much, they're both not like amazing picks right now, but
Yeah,
yeah, I would take Velas over Renoa right now,
totally,
personally.
totally. But I think that's all we got. So 2 days from now, we'll see King Mont drop. We'll see the impact that he has into the game. I'm expecting big things, quite honestly. Everyone's been excited for him, and I'm sure a lot of Earth people are very excited to get Earth coming back into it. Um, Someone brought up Mont's coming. You bring Renoa or Velas with him. Honestly, you could bring Velas. Earth and Ice have an overlap. I wouldn't bring either, quite honestly. But hey,
Velas is going to keep his AP
I
up.
was just gonna say if Mont has an AP issue, Velas is the guy to help him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But cool. Well, we'll kill it here. I'm sorry to cut things preemptively, guys, but it's been an hour and a half. Absolutely fun. Great episode with a lot to look forward to. As always, JB, appreciate your time. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah, as always. Thanks. Hope you guys enjoying the live streams that we started doing here. Let us know in the comments and ideas for future episodes or segments. Throw them at us. So